Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkifi podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to today's episode of the Market Movers podcast. We are joined by Matthew Martin, the SEO manager at Represent, which is a British luxury fashion brand. Matthew has been instrumental in driving really impressive organic growth for Represent with an Ahrefs traffic graph that looks like an S&P 500 index fund. So check that out. And he's here to share his insights on SEO strategies within the fashion industry, the power of branded search, and his experiences with digital PR. Welcome today, Matthew.
Hey guys, how are we doing? We're good.
Hey Matt, thanks for coming on. It's good to have you. To start, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself and about your background in SEO?
Yeah, cool. So like Chris mentioned, I am the SEO manager at Represent. I've been here about 2.5 years now, which has been crazy, honestly. I mean, the pace at which the company moves is wild, honestly. Before that, I was at MyProtein, which is where I started my career. For full transparency, I had no idea what I wanted to do at university. I ended up doing a master's purely because I wanted to swim for another year, pretty much. Always a good reason to do a master's. Yeah, I just kind of found that I was applying for a lot of these kind of roles in various things like accountancy, all sorts, and I didn't have any real passion behind any of that. So I just kind of thought, you know what, instead of applying for specific jobs that I think I might want, I'll just apply for a generic role at a company that I love. So I was really big into, obviously I mentioned the swimming, really big into going to the gym, that kind of thing. And I've always used MyProtein. I applied for a general kind of e-com role there. And then the hiring process there was excellent, honestly. I mean, I think the assessment day we had an interview with each of the channel heads. And then they basically put us in the role that they thought we'd be best suited for. So, I mean, I love writing. I love kind of data-driven stuff. Like my degree was in linguistics, which is a little bit of both. I was quite fortunate at MyProtein, honestly, because when I started there, they immediately put me on 10 sites, which included the UK and Ireland. Both really good sites to be on. The Ireland site was very much almost like a test site. So within the team of 12 that we had, if the head of SEO had kind of a new initiative or a new strategy angle that he wanted to go on, we'd first test that out on the Ireland site. Then it'd be up to me to execute that kind of sub-strategy, I guess, take the findings on it, communicate that to the rest of the team, kind of make a decision on whether we're going to roll out with it across all sites or not. So that was really good learnings for me because it meant that quite quickly I got a lot of experience in kind of the testing side. Again, taking the learnings from that and just executing everything on a wider scale. Obviously, the UK site is the biggest one. Loads of great experience there. After about 1.5 years there, the head of marketing at Represent dropped me a message on LinkedIn, essentially saying that they want to start doing SEO. And they already had a lad within the team from MyProtein doing PPC. And he'd recommended me based on the fact that he knew there was someone at MyProtein who wore Represent a lot and did SEO. So naturally it was a good fit because I've been a customer for years. I know what the customer wants. I knew the site very well. So came into here February 2022. It's been a whirlwind since then. Really good team. It's quite nice actually because we have got such a small team within e-com and marketing. It means that you just get full ownership over doing exactly what you want. Whereas I found that at MyProtein, obviously, there's just, because it's a much bigger company, there's so many kind of hurdles you have to jump over to get stuff done. You need to almost have that, like I mentioned, you'd have to run a test on Ireland first, but even to run that test in the first place, you needed some kind of proof of concept. Whereas at Represent, it's very much a case of if I see something I like, then I'll do it. We're just constantly getting these kind of short feedback loops on on these tests and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, another kind of benefit of that, I'd say, is very much that there's very little noise on the site. I mean, we've got 4 lads in ecom who are working on it. We've got myself who's working on it for the SEO, but other than that, there's not really many changes. So we tend to find that when we make changes, we can get a very solid view of what that change did in isolation. Whereas I find at bigger companies with bigger teams, that kind of thing, it's hard to really pinpoint whether that change you made has actually driven much performance difference. So yeah, like I said, I've been here 2.5 years, still loving it. So yeah, that's where we're up to currently.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you just picked a company that where you use and like the product, and then they found you a position which you've obviously excelled in. Okay, talking of stats then, yeah. So you've been at Represent now. We were looking at about 30K traffic in September 2022. We're up to 150K now. That's according to Ahrefs, yeah. So that's a significant, just under 400% increase, again, according to Ahrefs. What do you think has been the biggest drivers for that level of organic growth?
Yeah, so I mean, when I came in, we didn't really have any non-brand visibility at all. And like I said, I was very much coming into the brand as a consumer. So I kind of had an idea of what our consumers really love from us, what I believe that we're the best in the world at. So that was really, I'd say, for my first year to 18 months, I was really just honing in on kind of a couple of categories and subcategories. So just really pushing rankings for stuff like graphic tees, varsity jackets, cargos, keywords like that, where there's high search volumes. But I know for a fact that if someone lands on that page, it's very likely to convert because we do them so well. So yeah, that was kind of my strategy from the start. I mean, like I said, first year to 18 months was just a very small collection of keywords. If you look on Ahrefs as well, you'll find that if you filter for non-brand versus our competitors, we're quite close to the likes of Boohoo Man and the brands like that, but we're doing it with a much smaller portfolio of keywords, I'd say. So we're ranking for much fewer, but those that we are ranking very well for, there's a very high ROI for those. So I mean, this year I've kind of broadened out a little bit more, been working a little bit more on product pages. As the business has moved on to kind of this very, don't want to say mainstream, but we are kind of appealing more to that mainstream. 2.5 years ago, we could release a product and we don't know whether in 2 weeks it's going to be out of stock or not, and we might not ever restock it. But I'd say now as a business, we are in a position where we're ordering a lot more product. We've got stuff on site for a lot longer, so I can kind of focus in a little bit more on those product pages to try and really diversify the portfolio of keywords a little bit more. I think that answers the question. I can't actually remember what the question was in its entirety, but
biggest drivers, yeah. So it sounds like you've been focusing on a smaller number of high converting keywords in the early days. Has that followed through now as you grow and you've got more stock on site? Because has it changed at all, the strategy?
Yeah, like I said, this year has been more about broadening out. So going for the more kind of generic searches, like I said, utilizing the product pages a little bit more, working a lot more closely with the ecom team. So I actually moved teams from marketing to ecom at the start of this year, which I'd actually say has been hugely beneficial because it means I can work a lot more with the team on what the A/B testing, stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say just being a little bit more specific and granular on kind of the product page level has kind of been what we've been focusing on this year.
Represent has a lot of branded search. I see some of your top keywords are things like Represent hoodie, Represent t-shirt. What's led to such a high volume of branded search? That's something a lot of brands, as they're growing, really struggle to develop.
Yeah, I mean, we as a brand we're very community focused. I'd actually say that our community is one of the biggest drivers for branded search for us. And over the past kind of 18 months, we've done a lot to really leverage that. Just kind of an example off the top of my head, we had a pop-up last July, and literally a couple of days before that pop-up, we thought, like, what can we do for our community? Obviously, with the pop-ups for the community, but what more can we do? So we just put out a post a couple of days before the pop-up saying, we're gonna go on a 5K run, meet outside Selfridges, 7 a.m. on Saturday. If you're in the city at that time, come along, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Off the back of that, I think we had 300 people turn up, and what was really interesting about that was, I mean, the run was a success, but purely from my point of view as an SEO, when I was looking at the search after and the traffic after that run, we saw. So to give you a little bit of context, within Represent, we've got our mainline stuff, and then we've also got 247, which is our, like, I'd say, like, more activewear focused stuff. So we do like running collections, gym collections, that kind of thing. What I actually saw was a 700% increase in traffic for 247 in the week following the run. But what was really interesting about that was that wasn't just in the UK. I actually saw the highest increase in the US. So my kind of theory off the back of that was, from that run, there was a load of UGC created on TikTok, Instagram, that kind of thing. We didn't invite influencers. We just invited anyone. Like, so I mean, I think the volume of UGC that was created after that really kind of drove a lot of interest in that 247 kind of side of the brand, which, again, like I said, that elevated us up 600% for the week after. But that never really dropped off. That kind of became our new baseline for traffic then for that range. So yeah, I'd say kind of utilizing the community, building that community online and also in the physical space has been really good for us. This year we're doing a lot more physically. So opening up spaces in Harrods, Selfridges, Harvey Nichols, really making the most of those moments. So obviously, you're opening a big space in Harrods, that's going to naturally lend itself to some really good PR, which is really, I think, a lot of where our brand search, our brand visibility comes from. We've also opened up a store this year. So we opened up LA back in maybe March, and we're opening up in Manchester this year as well. So I think having that physical presence as a brand is just huge. And I think that's what differentiates us. I think a lot of brands either do one or the other. They either do physical or online as a focus. So I mean, obviously the likes of Boohoo, which dominate the online scene, Pretty Little Thing, that kind of thing. They don't have that physical presence quite as much, or at all, really. They don't really have a community, I'd say. I'd say people go to them for convenience. But it's also in the other direction as well. I mean, you look at a lot of brands which have a lot of physical stores, I'd say they're really not leveraging SEO to the max. And I think it's when you kind of marry these two together, that's when you get these like extraordinary gains in brand search.
And where does your community live? Where do you have the most engagement with them?
Everywhere, everywhere. I mean, it actually, like, so, I mean, when I joined the company, there was a Facebook group called Rep Talk, which had 15,000 members at that time. So yeah, there's a lot of people on that. Obviously it's grown since then. I'm not sure the number that it's on now. But I mean, there's WhatsApp groups, which are all community run. Like, nobody internal from the company like runs any of these. It's just completely organic. There's a group for 247, like I said, kind of the activewear side, where, I mean, I'm actually in all these chats because I love the brand. I love getting involved with the community, and like literally 247 chat is like, it's a class place to be. People are talking about the training, people talk about 247, people help each other out. There's lads in there who are based in the UK, but they're, say, an online personal trainer, and they've got clients now from all over the world from these chats. So I think it's not so much like, I think it's about not necessarily as a brand kind of trying to force it. I think you've got to bring people to you by having like a desirable kind of culture as a brand. So I mean, one of the things that we've done is we've got the 247 training app. So it's a free app. There's 3 online training programs on there. all programmed by our coach at work, Jake Dearden, who's like high-ROI doubles world champion. So it's pretty good for us to kind of provide a lot of these resources for free, which naturally kind of gravitate people towards brand. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we are predominantly UK based. US is growing a lot. Other than that, it's mainly kind of big players in the EU, Germany and Holland. I mean, both very kind of fashion-y type cultures, I'd say, and Australia's growing as well. So yeah, we've got people all over the world. But like I said, it's these chats, it's these kind of community functions that really bring it all together nicely.
I think that's really interesting that it sounds like that kind of organically developed, but you also had a clear strategy to develop those communities. You had the app, you had the free training programs, and you're right about like a lot of physical stores. They don't have that focus at all on the community. When you guys started that, what was the thought process? Were you thinking this is what we'll build and we'll do it by bringing on an expert who will help with training and that kind of thing? What was the thought process around like building up a community from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak of doing it from the start because I mean, this has been going for years and years and years. I think ultimately at the start it was driven by the brand being very exclusive, which naturally, when you go super niche and you go super exclusive, naturally people want to be a part of that. I mean, if it's something that you can't necessarily have all the time, I don't want to use price point as kind of a thing, but if it's a product which is excellent quality at kind of a higher price point than the likes of than the likes of Boohoo, it's almost like you've got a product that people have to save for. And yeah, I think again, just that kind of exclusivity of the product naturally kind of created this a bit of a culty kind of a bit of a, I don't want to say culty image, but do you get what I'm getting at kind of thing?
I know what you mean. Yeah. It's exactly the sort of community that you want, like not culty, but that vibe of
Yeah, exactly. And like I think as the brand kind of naturally grew, it kind of maintained that feel because that was so established. I mean, we've not lowered our prices or anything. We've not gone less exclusive. But the community just kept growing. With regards to kind of leveraging that as a brand, I think it's been very let's just test and learn kind of thing. Like I said, that first community run that we did before the pop-up, it wasn't necessarily a case of let's do this because we think it's going to get us more organic traffic, or let's do this because we think it's going to get us more sales. It was more let's do this and let's just do something nice, but like to actually bring people together a little bit more. Like obviously the pop-up side, like people turn up, they sit in the queue for hours and hours, and they might make a couple of friends with the people in the queue with them. But on a run, it's like everyone turns up, everyone gets it going together, and like again, it was just to kind of give back a little bit. And I think it's a case of we do that, but then we still do look at our metrics, see what does increase, see where we could do better, see if we could do it again, what could we improve about it to make it more of a moment. So yeah, to take that concept, for example, now, I mean, we took them global. So I think this year alone, there's been, I think, 17 247 like community events. So we've done all sorts from doing the runs across the world. So in South Africa, in Amsterdam, just everywhere, making it accessible for where a lot of our community is. We've done community days at the office. So like we bring along like 70 of our like most engaged customers, and they'll come in for the community day. And yeah, it's just like I said, it's the same with my SEO strategy. I mean, it's very much just test and learn, test on a small scale, learn from it, and then scale it up if it works. So yeah.
Now you have this fantastic community asset. and a lot of what they're doing is quite organic. But you do have a very powerful tool. I'm wondering if that's been in a formal way, like put into your SEO workflow in any way. So are you like utilizing email lists for new content pieces to drive traffic? Are you looking for social shares, or are you keeping the two separate for fear of ruining something which is obviously working on the community side? Do you know what I mean? You don't want to be bombarding your people and say, read this post. And you even said a lot of these posts that you put together aren't like really for readers. So I'm just wondering if there's like, you keep the two separate, or?
I can speak for on-site. It's not something I really focus on. Like I said, with the community activations, it's very much a case of like, we almost just let it happen. Like, we don't really like I said, we wouldn't like invite influencers to one and be like, you've got to post about it. Like, it is very organic, and it's not something I really push on site. Yeah, I very much use like our blog, for example, very much just for pushing our organic rankings. Yeah, it's not something I really do very much, honestly.
You mentioned that these events were great for the natural PR, and I know your previous role was in a PR for Represent. So I really want to talk about that. What strategies have you had? I think you also mentioned that the PR was really good for your branded search. So let's talk about that. What you guys have done, what you've seen that has worked on the PR side, and more specifically digital PR.
Yeah. So the PR side is interesting because, I mean, like I said, I started here just from a purely SEO, in a purely SEO role. But I kind of spotted a gap in the business where for a couple of years we weren't getting much coverage. So, I mean, I just naturally kind of took on that role of doing the PR. For probably about 18 months, I was just doing it by myself. And then we hired a couple of PR agencies. So now I work alongside them. They're doing the day-to-day outreach. But like, I'm still writing the press releases, like giving them all the product information, that kind of thing, and kind of guiding a little bit on that. But a bit, like I said, they're doing the main body of work now. I think for me that the biggest thing was just getting it in front of the right audiences. I mean, like, I did kind of the digital PR strategies of, say, writing about, I don't know, the best mountains to climb in the UK, wearing 247 kind of thing. I mean, I'd reach out to the local press, see if they wanted to kind of write about it, and they did write about it a little bit. But for me, like, that link was so just unuseful, honestly. I don't think it was getting in front of the right eyes. It wasn't getting the brand in front of the right people. The link is from a publication that is so not relevant to us as a brand. It wasn't really doing much. So after that, I did kind of focus more on the kind of traditional PR side of outreach into the likes of GQ, Esquire, Hypebeast, those kinds of publications. And I really focused on relationship building with those. I mean, fashion is so saturated in the PR space. There's thousands of brands out there. They're all pitching summer collections in summer. They're all pitching winter collections in winter. And very much it's a case of, fortunately or unfortunately, it's very much a case of relationships are everything in the fashion world. Like, how can you make, say, other than writing a really nice press release, how can you make this black hoodie stand out against this black hoodie if the writer's not actually got the hoodie, you know? So I just really focused on building those relationships with press. I mean, we do all sorts, like we invite them down to the office, like they'll see the showroom where we'll show them collections coming up in the next 6 to 12 months. We've had people actually join us for workouts in the morning, which I find is actually a really good kind of boundary breaker. I mean, like, if you sweat it out in the morning and then you spend the day with them, you've kind of already got past that point of any kind of initial awkwardness. We invite them to pop-ups, invite them to store openings. We'll sometimes put on say like a meal. Say if we open a space in Harrods, we'll have a Harrods dinner where we invite press to that. So yeah, it is very relationship driven, and honestly, like I am so audience focused with PR. Like I'm not too fussed about getting in a massive breadth of publications or publication types. It is very much a case of like, this is where our audience is, so that's where we're going to pitch. So yeah, that's kind of been my kind of strategy there. And working with the PR agencies has honestly been great, especially on the international side. I mean, when I was doing it myself, we were just very much UK focused. But now we're getting coverage in the US all the time. We've got a agency who just does PR for 247. They've been excellent. They also actually help out with our events and stuff as well. So getting press down to those events, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of a summary of that, I guess.
So would you say then that your digital, your PR strategies sit outside of that of your link building strategies? It sounds like they're perhaps quite a different thing. And yeah, okay. So it's very brand message PR. I imagine the link is of less importance. It's the coverage. I'd be interested if you could talk about that and the link building.
We do link building as well, out to like bloggers, that kind of thing. That's often the case of so when you get kind of traditional PR coverage, they'll either link to the homepage or to product pages. Like I said, we often have products go out of stock quite a lot, so those links can be less valuable. I find that category and collection pages are much more difficult for link acquisition from that coverage side. So we do link building to individual bloggers as well for those collection pages. Yeah, that's again, I'd say that's actually been a massive driver for us. I think I really believe that I feel like a link to a collection page is very unuseful unless you have everything sorted. So you should sort out your on page first, sort out your topical clusters, sort out your internal linking. Then once you've got that, I really do feel like link building is very much like hitting a boost button, but you almost have to have everything else sorted before you hit that boost button. I think naturally, if you've got a link building campaign where you're getting a high velocity of links across 1 month or 2 months, that kind of thing, it can look very unnatural if everything else isn't sorted. But I mean, if you've got content that Google loves, if you've got solid internal linking, it is very, very natural that those pages would acquire good links anyway, because if you rank well anyway, it's also more likely that you'll acquire links that way as well.
Yeah, and if you're being featured in the press. So even if those are two different initiatives, one's for coverage, getting in front of the right audience, the other is link building. When you're being featured, it's natural that people would discover you more and link to you more. So I think it gives you more buffer for aggressive, the outreach kind of link building, where maybe it's not what Google prefers. So yeah, I think that helps a lot. So you mentioned all the other stuff for on-site. One thing I wanted to ask about was keyword research. I know some brands, it's like the product team says like, here's a product, and then you come up with the keywords, you figure out what we're going to focus on. We talked to one other brand where he actually would look for opportunities like, hey, this is not competitive. Can we build a product around this? How does the keyword research process work for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean the way we work at Rep is the product team are working like 18 months ahead. So I'll start designing product 18 months before we launch it. This has its challenges. Like for example, one of my main focuses when I started at Rep was getting us ranking for varsity jacket. We then got a top ranking position, number 1. And then this whole year, we've not had any more varsity jackets released. So they all went out of stock at the start of the year. We actually just had one release last week. So we've now got one varsity jacket on that page. Had to end up putting a couple of bomber jackets in there as well, just to kind of fill it out a little bit.
Hope no one notices.
Yeah. Yeah, they look pretty similar in their silhouette. So yeah, I'm so again, like when I started here, a kind of gap that I noticed was our product page descriptions. Because it was such a small team, they often kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, and were a bit of a kind of maybe like an afterthought of how we make them really good. So yeah, I mean, so what we tend to do is like a week or 2 weeks before we launch a product, I'll have a meeting with the product girls, and they'll run me through the whole collection. So they'll almost do like a presentation where they'll pick up a piece, show me all the features on it, tell me about the fabric, tell me about the fit, that kind of thing. And I'll then go and look at our competitors, see if they've got a similar product, see what they rank for with that product, and then naturally try and include that kind of vision into the product description writing itself. So I mean, I find anyway that if you have, I mean, I don't really have much control over H1s, whatever the product title is, that's pretty much a decision that's already been made. But other than that, I will often be just very descriptive of the product. I find that's the best thing possible. Like, for example, if we've got a new leather jacket and it's called the leather smart jacket, there's not many searches around leather smart jacket, so I just call it distressed leather jacket or hand distressed leather jacket or Italian leather jacket, like these kind of things where I'll look at the competitors, see what they're ranking for with a very similar product and try and incorporate that, but also do a little bit more, just see what they're doing and try and improve on that. Like I said, with the product pages, that's been kind of a key focus for me this year, working a lot with the e-com guys. While we're on product pages, we should kind of cover this a little bit. I've actually found that UX has been a massive driver on the product page rankings. So the team are always kind of carrying out A/B tests on the product page, like whether, for example, whether we say checkout or secure checkout, or whether we display our free shipping thing as, say our free next day shipping, you get it with £120 spend. If the product is over £120, do we display that as just free shipping, or do we display the whole £120 for free shipping thing? Also stuff like split testing. People also, sorry, what's the phrase now? You might also like or styled with, or split testing these, see how they perform. And I find, like with product pages, if you can be as descriptive as possible and answer any questions that the user might have, whether it's on composition, whether it's on fit, whether it's on care guide, that kind of thing. All our products have FAQs. Like these are things, like I very much have a consumer focused mind when I'm doing this. Like I think if I was to look at this leather jacket, which is £800, what do I want to know about that leather jacket before I buy it? Because it's a high spend item, I find that's where most of the success has been.
Has there been anything surprising that's come out of the A/B testing that you thought maybe like this wouldn't be a big deal, or just anything that's had like a really significant impact to conversions?
I won't go too much into detail on this.
Trade secrets.
Yeah, it's kind of internal testing, but there's been some major findings there. I mean, I think the checkout securely or just checkout is a massive one for us. Like it's one word, but it makes such a big difference. Also, the idea of cross-selling as well. So styled with will naturally just show the other products that are in that outfit or worn by you, where we'll show where we'll show multiple UGC options of people wearing that product and how they style it. Things like this are kind of the main driver in overall AOV. I think cross-selling is a massive driver, or upselling, I guess. Yeah, it's a massive driver for us. I think for us, we provide such a good range of products. One of the big things for us is that we do stuff for every occasion. Like I said, we have the gym wear stuff, we have tailoring that you can wear to work in a corporate environment. We have the streetwear stuff, we have the graphics, we have the dress, we have vests. Like I think introducing the introducing all these different ranges is such a big thing for us. I mean, you probably know, if you say represent someone, what probably the first thing that comes into their mind is the Represent Owners Club hoodie or the Represent Owners Club t-shirt. It's just a big one which says represent across the back. That is like our entry for most people. Most people would see that and they want that hoodie. So it's introducing that consumer to every other option that we do. And we see quite a lot of gains made where we have these pillars of represent, so Owners Club, Mainline, 247, Initial, which is kind of like a bit more of a blank/basics range. We see a lot of benefit in introducing customers to these other product ranges and that kind of thing.
I'm curious about the varsity page. And you mentioned that I don't know if Represent, that they do like limited drops or exclusive lines that they don't re-release, or if you have evergreen products as well. So how are you, I mean, if you've got, spot number one for varsity jackets with an unstocked varsity jacket product, you're losing massive amounts of potential income from a high converting keyword. So is that something which the SEO team talks to like production about, or is it a decision which is just made out of your hands?
Yeah, it's just a decision that's made. I mean, to be honest with you, at the start of this year, I kind of put it on my list to get a bit closer with the merchandising team, to kind of get more visibility of what's coming up over the next year or 2 years. That's something that I've not, to be completely transparent, I've not really carried through that as much as I'd like to, but it's definitely something that I'll think a little bit more about. Now, I mean, that, like I said, that varsity jacket page was huge for us. Like at one point, that page was bringing in more traffic this year every month than the whole site was in a month last year. Yeah, so it's definitely something I need to think a little bit more about. I mean, we're introducing women's wear next year, so that's going to be a huge one for us. So going to be doing a little bit more, I mean, starting now pretty much kind of thinking about what we can do for those women's wear ranges. I mean, we already have women's oversized hoodies, women's oversized t-shirts, these kinds of pages where we can just present the same products as what's on the men's oversized t-shirts page. But the issue there is all our stuff is shot on male models, so naturally they don't convert very highly. But yeah, like I said, especially for women's, this is something I'm going to have to be thinking about quite a lot. Like I said, I mean, currently in SEO, it's just me, but I think this year communicating with other teams has been a massive priority of mine. Like I said before, with the product team, getting more visibility on how we can be more descriptive with our product descriptions, that kind of thing. But yeah, the merch side is going to be a big thing over the next year or so.
It's kind of hard. It can be hard to, I think, merge those because the product team isn't really that interested in a lot of the SEO stuff, and the SEO team wants to have maybe weigh in on that. But yeah, it can be a bit challenging there, I think. But you got a page like that ranks number one. There's definitely an incentive to keep that product coming out.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, so one of the things I actually did was, because I'm fully aware that like a lot of people in the business don't even know what SEO is, and you can explain it to them, but they don't necessarily care. So I mean, we have this thing called Rep Talk every month where our CEO Paul he'll just do a presentation to the whole company where he presents what we've been up to that month, where we're going, what the numbers are like, just keeping everyone in the business, like giving them eyes on where we're at essentially. And after he did the first couple, maybe 18 months ago, he said, like, does anyone want to kind of volunteer to speak? And I mean, straight away, like I saw that as an opportunity to get eyes on the value of SEO and what we're doing here, and hopefully get a little bit more buy-in from people across the business and see, right, okay, when I'm pestering you for this is why I'm pestering you for this, because I'm not trying to be annoying. Like, I'm not just trying to add to your workload. Like this does in turn, like, I mean, I know for a fact that the people in the team, they produce some of the best products in the world. So naturally, I want to get people's eyes on that, Same with the PR, like I want to get people's eyes on the work that everyone else in the business is doing. So yeah, I think getting that buy-in quite early was actually very important for me. And yeah, it's worked out quite nicely. I mean, everyone in the business is very happy to give up their time to help me out with that kind of thing. So yeah.
Matt, do you have visibility into the proportion of sales which are attributed to SEO, and has that grown in line with the organic SEO growth for the last 2 years?
Yeah, very much so. I'd actually say it's grown exponentially. I mean, naturally, as we have more of these trust signals around the world, I mean, I don't have visibility on non-brand revenue, but I can kind of infer that from kind of our non-brand brand split in Search Console and what kind of revenue we're doing, what kind of pages are increasing a lot. So say, for example, if our t-shirts page has increased in revenue by 200% year on year, and our non-brand search traffic for that page has increased 800% year on year, we can probably see that a lot of that increase in revenue is probably attributed to the non-brand side. Same with new users. If we notice that we're getting a lot more new users organically, then naturally I'd attribute a lot of that towards non-brand as well. Especially when we look on the page level. Yeah, I'd say so. And like I said, it all comes hand in hand when we're doing a lot of PR activity, that kind of thing. I mean, if people notice us if people notice us from a non-brand search and they've seen us in, I don't know, Hypebeast on social, maybe a week before, maybe they've seen an ad or whatever, like it's well attributed.
I was also thinking if you had an understanding of the split between, let's say, the PPC and the organic social in comparison to SEO.
Yeah, it's all pretty proportional, honestly. I mean, the PPC landscape, I feel it's becoming a little bit more difficult. Costs going higher, that kind of thing. So I'm working a little bit more with Harrison, the lad who's on PPC here, to kind of focus in on where we don't need to be spending, where he can save his spend more in other ways. Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty proportional year on year across the business, honestly. I think everyone's doing a really good job.
That's good. Yeah, it's good to see it coming from multiple sources. And then obviously, I think with rising ad cost, figuring out where you need to focus your spend and then pushing your efforts somewhere else. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually say, I mean, for me, year on year, the biggest kind of revenue driver has been US in terms of difference. I actually think we should be leaning a little bit more on PPC now in the US, just because, I mean, the US SERP at the moment is mangled, if I should put it lightly. Like, it's got all sorts in there, like, I mean, all kinds of recommendations that nobody seems to be looking for. I mean, I'm seeing, even though rankings might be improving across the board, we're seeing drops in clicks, drops in impressions a little bit. Like, it's, yeah, I think we should be leaning a little bit more on PPC nowadays for that side. Just like I said, the nature of the SERP. I mean, I hope Google kind of sorts it out and clears it up a little bit. But yeah, we work pretty closely.
Let's as we're approaching the end, let's get to that then, as to get your insights on. I'll make it a broad question. Just what are you seeing with AI currently? What are your thoughts on the future of Represent with regards to AI?
Oh man. So, I mean, I was pretty clear from the start of this whole kind of AI revolution, kind of start of last year. I didn't really want to be using it for content. I mean, like, I know that obviously, like, AI detection is a huge thing. Like, there's been a lot of sites penalized quite recently, but I mean, from the start, I mean, with SEO, you very much need to have that differentiator between you and the competitors. And I feel that if everyone's using AI, then everyone's very much going to be publishing the same kind of content. Even when you think about blog content, even if we're only using AI to create, say, a blog brief, those kind of categories within that brief are all going to be very much the same. I use it quite a lot for my content clustering. So like I said, I utilize the blog a lot for creating content around, to use the varsity jacket as example, how to wear a varsity jacket, the best varsity jackets for men, that kind of thing. So I'll use AI quite a lot to kind of cluster a lot of these topics together. A really interesting one, actually, which we've just recently utilized it for, is our translations. So we've just launched our Germany subfolder with native translations in. The team were getting crazy quotes for translating the whole site. Obviously, it's a big job. But what one of the lads on the team, actually, I'm going to give him a shout out, Jacob Bowden. You should probably have him on here. He's really excellent, really kind of using AI in a very, very innovative way, really. So he actually created his own GPT, which translates the whole site. He can integrate it into our product description systems, that kind of thing. Where now if I write a product description, I'll let him know that I've written that description for a collection. He hits a button and AI will translate it all for him. Obviously there's kind of stuff in there to do with context, there's stuff in there to do with brand keywords that you don't necessarily want translating, but he's worked really hard on that to make sure it's seamless for us. So yeah, we're going to be rolling that out to a few more countries over the coming year.
Is that click and go, or are you spot checking the translation before that goes live?
So we do. We have like people checking over it. Human writers, they're not checking all the content, just kind of a few samples. But yeah,
that's a great use case, because too many people are just doing the one-click content, now starting to realize it wasn't a good idea, as they're getting penalized or it's just not performing well, and they're having to spend a lot of, like, probably more effort to go back and revamp it or deal with it than they would have. So it's good to see more productive use cases with AI. Since we're on the topic of content, before we hit record, we were talking about a new project you guys were working on, and you had a really interesting it was your contents and link acquisition strategy for that. So as we're coming towards the end of this talk, maybe tell us about your new project and the strategy we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, I've been working a little bit on a brand called Cadence. It's a electrolyte hydration brand, completely new brand as of April this year. And what was really nice about that was I got brought onto the team for that to consult on the SEO side, and we built the site with an SEO focus in mind. I mean, with my background in MyProtein anyway, I knew that having that kind of science-backed, evidence-based angle on it is extremely important. And so, yeah, I naturally kind of thought we need to position this brand as the most science-backed hydration company in the world. So first thing we did was we hired a nutrition advisor, Matt Jones he's the nutritionist at the Boston Celtics and also I think for the Special Forces in the UAE. So we brought him on board to be our he formulates all of our products now. But one kind of area that I thought he'd be really useful in is our blog article writing. So we release a product, say that product has got 3 ingredients in, 3 active ingredients, sodium, potassium, magnesium. That's currently our only product. We've got more products coming out next week, sorry. But yeah, I then communicate with Matt and say to him, look, I want to write a blog article on everything that the user would want to know about sodium. I want to create one on how athletes specifically can utilize sodium to improve their performance, that kind of thing. And yeah, he goes into his database of a lot of research and studies, gives me all of that data. And then, yeah, we very much kind of create this summary of research, which we find to be kind of a breakdown of all the studies that are in that space, and providing that as a resource for the customer to see, okay, so this product's 500 milligrams of sodium in it. I've been told my whole life that sodium's bad to have too much of. So what can I do? They've written a blog article on how sodium isn't actually that bad for you if you're working out twice a day or whatever. So yeah, we kind of present that very much as we almost prevent it. I mean, I wrote a lot of essays at university.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's very academic.
Yeah, a lot of these articles, some of them have, some of the ones we've got coming out over the next week or so for these new products, some of them have 30 reference studies in them. Some of them are hitting 2,500 words. So yeah, just providing the most science-backed resource to back our products. And naturally that helps with SEO anyway, because we're sharing the research behind it. We're not making any bold claims. We're not going to get hit by Medic, which is obviously a while ago now. But I mean, when I started at MyProtein, it was very much drilled into me that we can't make comeback claim, because they had just been hit by Medic very, very hard. So that was just drilled into me from the start. But naturally, writing these blog articles has been very beneficial from us on the link acquisition side, because we're now getting cited by, smaller blogs like hydration blogs, like exercise science blogs, that kind of thing, because we are providing this like complete breakdown of all the research in the space, which I think is quite difficult to find unless you want to look through 30 abstracts of different blog articles. We present all the evidence for both sides, so the good and the bad. So yeah, we're very transparent about that, and I think that's only benefited us both from the SEO side and the link acquisition side.
I think that's a really good strategy for product development as well, because I think most companies go about it the other way around. They create a product and then they go out and they look for someone to, put their name on it and say like it's healthy, it's all natural, something like that. In the US, I don't know about in the UK, but we have a serious distrust of companies because it's been that way for a long time. Here's a product, some no-name doctor who no one's ever heard of puts their name on it and they do a cheap infomercial. And that's been the strategy. And then it comes out that there's all kinds of garbage in the product. So working with someone from the start, developing things and making sure that it is science-backed and what you're saying is in there, is actually the case. That's a really good way to build, I think, a loyal customer base. So I think that's a really good way to start out.
And it's beautifully presented as well. I think you mentioned UI UX being a consideration for definitely Represent. Obviously, that's followed through for the new brand as well. Yeah, just one quick question on that. Are these sort of intense science-backed articles derived from the same sort of keyword research, topic clustering process, and that's how you're building them out, or?
Yeah, so I mean, for the blogs that are coming out over like the next week, what we've kind of done already is very much just like breakdown of the ingredients. We've done some stuff around like are electrolytes vegan, for example, like stuff that people are searching. But I mean, I find very much like if these blogs bring in traffic, then excellent. I mean, we're getting traffic for all sorts, like how does magnesium help muscle cramping, that kind of thing. But generally, like the conversion from these is very low. But I mean, it's all kind of a place on the funnel, right? I mean, like if someone's searching that kind of thing, it's likely that they are eventually going to be in a market for a magnesium product to prevent cramping, that kind of thing.
And your EAT as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I say, it's not really like, I don't generally utilize them for traffic acquisition, but I'll utilize them to really benefit our product pages and our categories.
Yeah, those things are really hard to dig into. So like you have the government agencies that provide the research, and those articles are extremely hard to read. My wife's a dietitian, so she's always telling me like, oh, look at this fact. And she's showing me the article and I'm like, I can't even make sense of that. It's all science talk. So taking that same information and breaking it down in a way that people can like understand and follow, like, is it good? Is it bad? Here are the key points that is beneficial in itself. All right, Maddie. Well, I think this is the perfect spot to wrap up. It's been awesome having you on. Some really great insight. For people who want to connect with you, where can we send them?
So yeah, my LinkedIn's Matthew Martin. That's kind of where I'd say I'd post most of my work-related stuff. Find me on Twitter as well, Matty TJ Martin. It's less SEO focused, more kind of just insights into my life a little bit, but do a lot of posts on there about kind of the brand, about Cadence as well. So yeah, I'd say those are my two main channels.
And where do people go to get some sweet swag? I'm going to be looking at after this chat, I think.
Yeah, representchloe.com or uk.representchloe.com.
Okay. Well, Matt, it's been absolutely awesome having you on. Thanks very much. Take care, and we'll hope to see continued success for both brands going into the future.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, guys. It's been great to meet you as well.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1, yeah! And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers, Building Brands and Links with Linkifi. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkifi, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkifi.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.